Delighted then we have our opener, who is our great friend Kuala Ahern. Nuala has been a member of this club for a long number of years, long before I came into the equation, but I have known Nuala myself for a long time, and I was lucky to have met her over in Brussels when she was an MEP over there. I had the privilege of looking after the MEPs then. And Nuala was the first Queen elected part of the outside of Dublin party. So she's been with the Green Party for a long time. As I said, she's a great member of the UAC. She served on many committees here, and I know she did a lot of work. She was on committee in our lovely dining room down there, and she did a lot of work there. And hopefully we will have our beautiful dining room up and running again very soon. We're working really, really hard on that, and it's been really sad that the dining room has been closed for nearly over 12 months now. So we're going to try and rectify that and get it up and running and get as many of you back in for exhibitions, because it was always part of the exhibitions here that people would book for food before or after the exhibition. So hopefully for our next exhibition we will have that up and running. So now I'd like to call in Nuala just to officially open the exhibition and to say a few words about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Breed, and thank you, Breed, for keeping the club running in these very, very difficult times that we've had. Without you, really, yourselves, I think the place would have collapsed around us. So we're very grateful.
Thank you.
It's my great pleasure to introduce this or open this wonderful exhibition. My old friend Des Fox, friend and neighbour, I have to say. What can I say about Des, except that he's always great to know. And I have to, apart from painting, he actually runs mosaic workshops, which Barry and I have had the pleasure of enjoying over a long number of years too. So I was entranced when Des spoke to me about this particular departure for him, because Des was an illustrator, first of all, many years ago, and as we all know, nobody illustrates anymore. The whole thing has collapsed to computers. But so then he became an abstract landscape painter, and I have some of them adorning my own walls. But this is a completely different sort of inspiration. He became inspired, I think, really by the dreadful scenes that we've all been witnessing over the last number of years of people dying in water, trying to escape from dreadful privation, war, famine. What makes people take their families and set themselves adrift in the Mediterranean to live or die, for the, God willing, that they will get to the other side. And it's happening all the time, and it's hard to realise that this is going on in the world that we live very comfortably in here in Ireland, in spite of the fact that we whinge endlessly about everything. We like to be adrift, with nowhere to go and nowhere to live. This idea of the promised land is very evocative. And when he showed me these paintings, and I saw what I thought were the little heads on the little raft there, just behind Brian's head there, it really put the heart across me, because I could see those people desperately in these little inflatables they are, and some of them die at sea. And a very good friend of mine in Wicklow went out, and over the years people have done their best to try and rescue, and yet there seems nothing that we can do. And these paintings are really bringing that to life for us. I see another little ship adrift over there, and the little heads, and are they landing on the rocks? Is there somebody there to bring them to life? And then again, we've seen war in Europe this year. And you see the tank coming at you there as the tanks are coming at the Ukrainians. And many of my friends have actually taken in people into their own homes. I was talking to somebody only the other day who had basically brought someone into her own home, a family. I couldn't do that, and I'm really grateful that some people are. So Des has, in this exhibition, and he will, I hope, talk to you himself about the inspiration of this. But this, you know, they are trying to reach the place that we live in and complain about. Think about that for a minute.
Here.
Let's try to do something better, both with where we are now and where these people are coming from. Please, I say it to you with all my heart, let's be inspired by the artists among us to do better than we are, because that's what artists are for, to open our eyes to the life around us and to what we can be. So, I give you
Thanks very much, Nuala. That was absolutely wonderful. So now we'd like to call on the artist himself and Des Fox, who maybe, as Nuala said, talk you through his wonderful work here this evening.
All right, okay, thank you. What the other side?
Oh, sorry, yes.
That's right, that's no bother. Thank you.
Yeah, fine.
Thanks, Des.
That's great, thank you, Bree. And I'm delighted to have this opportunity to speak. I think it's, I shared with PJ an observation. It's important that artists speak if they can. You draw this attention to yourself, you produce the work. In my case, I always tend to be juggling all the bits at the end. It's the way I was probably trained in illustration, in that there's nothing quite like a deadline, so you perform as best you can. And I must say, I was so delighted to be invited by Brian, who looks after the exhibitions with Breed, to exhibit here. I come sometimes to the drawing downstairs, so I see the United Arts as a sort of a foothold in the city centre. It is for me now, having worked for years in the city centre. Now I live out in the wilds of Wicklow, so coming into the lovely Fitzwilliam Street is a great joy, and to be so welcomed. And that is a very valuable thing in what is rapidly becoming a smarter part of the city, I suppose, inevitably. And I think that for me, I'm at that stage where I see primarily the value of the United Arts, and having an exhibition here is a great honour, and I was delighted. And then I thought, jeepers, there's so many people who pass through here with so much talent. Like, suddenly my landscape and their landscape, and I started having one of those, oh my goodness. And I just hadn't really done anything, and a couple of mishaps along the way. Christmas passed. I had very diplomatically an email from Brian saying, just reminding me what the date was, and he hadn't heard from me. And I thought, okay, mail Brian back. Yeah, yes, I've selected 24 pieces, and that's all good, all confident. I had a few leftovers. By chance, I had a show last autumn over in the Copper House, first time in 3 years, and that was a bit more of a lead-in. And I thought, sure, it'll be grand. I'll just show a few drawings in the United Arts. And yet, when I had the email from Brian, I said, no, 24 paintings, I've selected them all well. Went out a couple of days later to the studio and thought, no, I can't do that. And in a way, I couldn't just suddenly wheel out more of these landscapes observations in a world that we are bombarded. I mean, there's no question now. We look at our younger folk and we think they're always on their phones, they're always consuming something. We're always consuming something. We look at the news every night. It is so upsetting to see what can go wrong in the world. Some of it is beyond our control, and some of it should be controlled. It's like something awful will happen in somebody's life, and it all falls asunder. And then we get the details, not only when it happens, but when it comes to court, or when it's presented yet again as a diet of just, it's so distressing, really. And then on top of that, we have this global situation that is definitely climate linked, and we're going to have lots more of climate economic migration. There's no doubt. When I decided then in January that I couldn't do some more poor old Des Hugs landscapes, I decided no, I've got to actually challenge myself, and in a way that's what this show is most about. It's about a challenge to, and at one point somebody said to me, maybe these are a bit unsettling, are you really doing the right thing here? But I thought, no, I've got to actually follow through on my belief that I want to just say something a bit different for myself, and something that is less about me and maybe a little bit more of an observation about the world. And then you're reminded you can't really do that as an artist, because you go to all this trouble and you draw all this attention to yourself, and in a way it ends up just being about you, the artist, because this is as good as you can do in a situation. So I'm back to what I said about juggling all the bits at the end, because for years, and I don't want this to sound like rock and roll, I gave you all the best years of my life. For years I slaved away as an illustrator, always happy to deliver, always happy to do handstands, and it was rewarding. And back in the 90s and so on, it was such a skill to be able to produce something visually, because everybody's just watching RTE and maybe BBC and maybe Channel 4. We didn't, and they had coffee table books and everything. But we didn't have the visual world we have now. If you knew an artist, you kind of thought, okay, I like their work. Now, if you know an artist, you can always go on Pinterest and have a look at how they rate with the rest of the world. So there's no way of avoiding that now. We have so much at our fingertips if we choose. And I think maybe I'm at that age where I suddenly thought, well, actually, if this was a batch of illustrations and I was being paid X amount, like when I was half my age, yes, I would have stayed up late and much more than I'd be able to now, but I would have actually really committed to it. And I think that's why it's been a very interesting opportunity, and I really value the freedom to be able to say, okay, here's your show, and do what you can. And I must come back to thanking Breed and Brian for their perfect understanding, because naturally, I turned up 24 hours later than we'd originally agreed, and I really...
about that.
Yeah, I really hand it to you for everything, and I really appreciate everybody coming. It's a lovely Thursday evening, but it's very good of you to take the time and to come and have a look. Obviously, my family for all the support. Sylvia, I think one of these times, if I go on having exhibitions, she will have to do some of the paintings for me, really. And, it has been a great pleasure, and I must thank Nuala, who is very close neighbour and a great support, literally living across the road herself and Barry, and we're very happy to
Great neighbourhood.
be able to come in and enjoy the city at the same time. And I'm going to stop now, and I'd like to thank Alan for putting the camera, and I've had this opportunity, and obviously the bar and everybody, and I'll leave it at that.
Left now just to look at these wonderful paintings, and Des has given you great insight into what he has painted, so we'd love to see a few sales here for this evening. Would be good. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.